This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Hello, and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries. We are your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And we are back for part 2 of our wonderful November Crimes of the Pilgrims arc, where we're focusing on episodes of, or I guess actually TV specials or movies, actually, in particular this time, of cartoons, old classic cartoons that deal with, I guess you say they're Thanksgiving theme, but in reality, we're flipping it and reversing it. And we're talking about how these cartoons discuss many, many crimes that were committed by some of the OG settlers, colonizers in America.
Or lack of discussing their crimes.
Mainly that. And we are giving some historical context in there to show how exactly they kind of brushed over some of those more intricate details when we were younger. If you joined us last week, you heard Grace did part 1 of the it was Warner Brothers, right?
Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, which is not Warner Brothers, sorry. Animated special. And it has been very interesting. It's a doozy so far. She ended us quite literally on a cliffhanger. And she's gonna pick it back up from where she left off. And so I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. So yes, we are on to part 2 of the Hanna-Barbera's TV special, The Thanksgiving That Almost Wasn't. As a reminder up top, at the last episode, I did this at the very end, but sources for this episode are, of course, Wikipedia, an Atlantic article by David J. Silverman called In 1621, the Wampanoag tribe had its own agenda, a Washpo piece by Dana Hedgepeth called The Tribe Helped the Pilgrims Survive Their First Thanksgiving. They still regret it 400 years later. And the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe website, which is one of the tribes of the Wampanoag Nation. So again, we're on part 2. And Alexis, actually, would you give us an on-the-spot recap of what happened last time? Who's here? Sure. Where are we? What's going on?
Oh, gosh, Grace, I just had like a little bit of PTSD. This is like law school, the Socratic method. Alexis, tell us about that case that we had to read last night. Shit. Just like Socratic method, cold call, boom. Except it's not cold calling because I'm the only person you call on in this situation.
So, dogs, what happened last time?
Do you guys want to hand them the mic? And
they're snoring. They're snoring.
Okay, they missed it.
Cool.
So last week, very quick recap. If I hopefully I remember it all. It was like literally 5 minutes ago on our end.
Yeah, we just finished recording it.
I had a long night last night. Okay, bear with me. So essentially, we're telling the tale here of a young boy named Johnny Cook and his white settler and his friend Little Bear, a Native American boy. They are both very interested in hunting, and they decide to, as friends, go out, hunt in the woods in this very densely wooded area of Massachusetts where they are living. And they're warned actually by a very street smart squirrel not to go into those woods, that it's dangerous there. But these kids, it's a squirrel. They're like, I don't give a fuck what you say. You're a squirrel. We're hunters. Our dads
We're
are awesome
unamazed
hunters.
by a talking squirrel.
Exactly. Why would we listen to you? Moving on. Oh, look, another talking squirrel. Haven't seen that before.
They're so chatty.
So pretentious. Ignore. So these kids, they go out, they think that they are hunting after what are they looking for again? Bear? Wolves. They are looking for wolves. I thought that they were then being hunted by. Okay, anyway.
Both.
So they go out deciding to look for wolves deep into the woods. They think they find tracks. They start following them, but it gets very dark very quickly. Again, Grace noted, it's like Massachusetts, East Coast, winter, late fall, gets dark very early, very dense woods. They lose their way. They lose this trail of paw prints that they're following. And next thing they know, they're like, oh shit, we don't know where we are. So they hop on a log that's flowing through a river, thinking that it will take them back to camp and help them find their way home. Meanwhile, all of the fathers, not the mothers, they're too busy cooking and whatnot at home. But the fathers have all left their village and they're out looking through the woods for their boys, because until they find their boys, they can't enjoy their Thanksgiving feast together. So while the food is out getting cold and the women are starving back at home, just looking at the meal that they've made and not able to touch it because the men are so demanding. These fathers are probably also now getting lost in the woods, deep in the woods in November. And Jeremy the squirrel, actually, the street smart, savvy talking squirrel who tried to warn the kids not to go into the woods, he actually sees them as the two boys as they're getting on this log in the river trying to flow away. So I think that's where we left. I think Jeremy was maybe going either to chase them, go after them, or maybe going back to relay the message to the fathers. I don't know.
He's currently just shouting on shore over the river, and they're like, stop! Squeak, 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 squeak. Cool. Yes, great. Cool. Thank you for that recap. That is exactly where we left off. Yes, the literal cliffhanger, and the backdrop of all of this being the way in which the story tells, in which the Wampanoag Native peoples and the Pilgrims are arm in arm on this mission to save the boys. No hard feelings ever. Nope.
None. They've been friends all along.
Since the Mayflower docked on the shore.
Infamous Mayflower.
The infamous Mayflower came to shore. Can dancers. Yes. So our crimes in the last episode were just the general everything ever that the white people did upon arriving in what is now called America. And I know, and you briefly touched on this, that Jeremy the squirrel is on the sidelines, yelling, being like, yo, you're about to go over a cliff edge. And I know I also said that last episode that Jeremy the squirrel was the hero of this story and of Thanksgiving. And all he's really done so far is like, tell the two boys to stop fighting and then fail to keep them going on a river that's rushing towards a waterfall. And he's also a squirrel. So he has no idea probably that the boys are now being tracked by wolves.
Yes. Oh, I left that out.
Yes.
I think, or maybe I just like I skirted over it. Yes.
The wolves that they were tracking are tracking them for their Thanksgiving feast. And again, squirrel, he probably doesn't know they're being tracked. And I assume that this wolf is looking at Jeremy being like, that is a great appetizer. Yes, precisely.
Wonderful. Amazing.
See, if we're both thinking it, the wolf is definitely thinking it
too.
Yes. Well, my friend, Jeremy finally steps up in this tale because as the boys are growing ever closer to the waterfall and realizing their inevitable doom, they start freaking out and the water is too strong for them to swim through. And Jeremy certainly cannot go swim out there and save them. If boys can't, if two humans cannot swim through this water, a squirrel certainly would just over the waterfall in seconds probably.
Oh God.
And even if he got to them, what would he do?
Then what? Boys pull them to shore?
His tail and swim forward?
Jeremy grabs the log and swims it to the banks. Damn, he is a hero.
Right. Well, he does not do that. But like you said, a street smart and savvy squirrel Jeremy is. And so he notices that there is a tree branch hanging over the precipice of the waterfall. And he runs to the very edge of it and very smartly realizing I'm just a little squirrel. I'm meant to be able to walk to the end of branches without them dipping down. He brings a giant rock with him to weight the branch down. And I don't know how. I Googled how much weight a squirrel can carry, and they definitely cannot carry a boulder. Yeah, it's not that much. It's
the fact that you Googled that makes me So happy. And we say we're half researched. No, ma'am. We definitely look up how much weight a squirrel can carry.
Yeah, like not that much, like barely. I think it was like their body weight, maybe their body weight and a half, or like, I don't know, not very much. It's related to their body weight. And so it like the equivalent of like two squirrels being on the end of the branch would not make it drop. So this boulder is definitely heavier than what Jeremy can carry, or what other squirrels, I should say, can carry.
True. He's not like Jeremy, the others.
Our English speaking squirrel also does not skip leg day and can lift this boulder out to the edge of the branch.
Lift with the legs, Jeremy. Lift with the legs.
Exactly. So either way, Jeremy is indeed able to weigh down the branch into like hovering just above the water, so that the boys, rather than falling to their death and absolutely ruining Thanksgiving that they've already kind of ruined, but like really ruining it forever, they're able to grab hold of the branch, and Jeremy knocks the boulder off, so the branch springs back up. I don't know how the weight of two boys didn't hold down the branch, but that boulder did. Jeremy's that strong, I think.
Awesome.
What's happening? So they safely climb back to shore, and they build a fire to dry off from the river and warm up as the November evening continues to grow colder and colder. And Jeremy knows that the best thing to do when you're lost is to stay in place rather than wander around everywhere. But then Jeremy does something that we've never actually seen happen in any of our shows, when like our main characters like Johnny and Lil Bear do something not great. Jeremy absolutely rips them a fucking new one regarding their careless actions.
You did.
Yelling at them, saying that one, his tail is ruined because it got wet. When they say, sorry, Jeremy, we didn't listen, this pissed off little squirrel goes, yeah, that's just the problem. You don't listen. You don't think things through. Listen to your elders. You might learn something. And gets
Jeremy.
Just rails into them.
Wow. Finally,
Jeremy was
tough
pissed.
Love. Yeah.
Exactly. He's like, I didn't have to chase your asses all the way out here, but I did, and look what it got me, a wet tail.
Right, and now we're all going to be eaten. So also,
straight up. Yes.
Okay, never mind. I just can't wait to watch this, because I really want to know what Jeremy sounds like. Because in my mind, since he's a squirrel, I imagine like Alvin or something, or not. Yeah, no, or like some of the Rescue Rangers or something like that.
It's definitely not a squeaky voice. I'm trying to. I think they were like. I wish I would have like listened to it just before we started recording again. It's kind of like,
okay.
You boys, that's right. You don't listen. Like, it's just like a normal, like, nondescript. Yeah. Like,
okay.
Normal voice. I will say that on the voices, something I didn't say about any of this is how the story is actually being told is like in modern 1972 day. Like a family is sitting down to Thanksgiving feast, and you see like the little like boy and girl who fully have adult voices. It's really funny, and like that's actually how the whole show starts, is like them arguing.
Find kids to voice them.
Yeah, and it's very funny. But then it like follows out this family's window and into a tree, and it's a father squirrel and a son squirrel who have a picture of Jeremy like in their home, and the mom squirrel is cooking Thanksgiving dinner, and the dad squirrel is telling the son squirrel about their ancestor, Jeremy the squirrel who saved Thanksgiving. And I didn't put that in because it's all extremely irrelevant, but because you asked about the voices, the kids in the like 1972 part of it all have like adult voices, and it's very off-putting. So there you go.
There are like 1,000 things I want to say, so just keep moving.
Yeah, that's just like again, that's why I didn't put any of that in here originally, because I was like, this is incredibly irrelevant. Why is this part of the story?
But it's also so interesting.
And like the squirrel family that again have like a life-size portrait of Jeremy the squirrel.
More of my questions are coming from.
Yes.
I'm like, that's cute. A family talking about Thanksgiving with their kids. Oh wait, you say a squirrel family as well? Like,
they're having Thanksgiving.
Out like, no, we don't give a fuck about the human family. Let's show
they don't know the truth of Thanksgiving.
The
but the squirrels
they, like, worship Jeremy. Like this massive.
It's like as big as the squirrels are. The mom squirrel is putting acorns and shit on the table. She's wearing an apron. The kid squirrel is just running naked, but the dad squirrel has like like the suit collar, like just the collar and a black tie, and then like
Chip
a pair
and
of
Dale
glasses.
style,
Yeah.
but like with the regular tie, not a bow tie.
Yeah, and then just like glasses. And he's like, "Well, son, let me tell you about how Thanksgiving almost didn't happen. But thanks to our ancestor, Jeremy." And so then that's a whole saga that happens, and it flashes to them often in this story.
I still have a lot of other thoughts. The last one I'll share, though, is that I'm glad they were consistent and they made sure that the mother squirrel is still cooking.
So same in the human family.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Like, damn, if there's a woman, she's gonna be cooking.
She's cooking. It's Thanksgiving time. Put her to work. I'm also glad, I guess, that I gave you this heads up now about this, so you didn't start the episode being like,
"What the fuck?
What's this modern squirrel family?"
Modern squirrel family.
1972 version. They're not pilgrims or native peoples.
Okay.
Anyways, I guess they could.
All right.
Whatever.
Back up to speed. Awesome.
Yes. Back to the forest with Jeremy yelling at these two children.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, as a creature of the forest, does know what direction home actually is, which makes the boys like jump up and start singing about going home.
Of course.
Basically letting all of the dangerous forest creatures know exactly where they are. Like, hey, we're off the water now, back on land. Come find us.
Come find us.
Smartly though, Jeremy shuts it down. He basically tells them to like literally, like it's like a whole like song montage where they're singing about home, and like you see them marching around, and then at the end of the song, Jeremy steps in front of them and is like, "I don't think so," and like makes them sit back down. The hero of this story. And
Jeremy is awesome.
Jeremy.
Oh my God. Yes. Jeremy sounds like a wise grandmother or something, like a sassy grandma, like, no, not in my car.
Well, at one point,
shut up back there.
Just his sassiness, like when Jeremy the squirrel's first introduced, it's like, he lives all the way up in an oak tree. And at one point when he's yelling at the boys, he's like, I came all the way down from that tree today to save you. As if like, it's like such a huge effort for him to just come to the ground.
It's like what a squirrel does.
Yeah, but he like makes a point of being like, that tree was tall as fuck and I came down for your asses today. This is how you treat me.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna listen to what I say.
Such as Jeremy telling them to sit the hell down, and that he will go get the adults and bring them back to the boys. Which one, it's like a lot of trust to put into a squirrel you just met. But as we mentioned, the boys make brash decisions. They are a little scared to be left alone. And so Jeremy whistles for his friends to come and protect them. And I assume really just to make sure they like don't fucking get up and move again. So out of the forest comes a beaver and some birds and some raccoons and a bear.
Oh shit.
They're babysitters.
Okay, well, this is a nice bear.
Yeah, Jeremy goes off to find the settlement. And do you want to know what game that, because you know, it's like babysitting some 8-year-old boys who are obviously like, we're gonna get to go home. So they're energized again, ignoring that they almost just died. Mm-hmm. You want to know what game that they start playing to keep themselves entertained? Because the animals are like, we gotta do something with these hyperactive kids. Let's play a game.
Hide and seek. If it's hide and seek, I'm gonna go fucking throw something out of my window.
It's Hunter.
Oh, okay.
The boys start chasing around the animals as if they're gonna kill them.
Oh,
just
that's
for
violent.
fun.
They've been watching their parents too long.
This is like felt like the equivalent of like a babysitter coming to your house for the night. Instead of like watching movies or doing crafts, the kid goes, let's play serial killer. Like, hello, person who's now in my home and doing this favor for me. I'm going to act like I'm going to kill you now. And so that's what the boys do.
Wow.
Understandably, from the forest animals' point of view, when all of a sudden a wolf springs out of the shadows, all of the animals abandon the boys. We're just pretending to murder them.
We're not getting paid enough for this.
I do not blame the animals. In this moment, they were like, these bitches were just pretending to murder us.
So true.
Tables have turned. See ya. Like,
they're the ones with thumbs. Let them handle these.
I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, their fathers killed my father. I'm out of here. Like,
right.
Yeah. Again, the animals immediately jump ship and GTFO so they don't get eaten. And again, they're like, you're going to grow up and actually kill us one day. Let's reduce this. They could have been working with the wolves for all I know.
Actually, true.
Unconfirmed rumor.
It was a ruse.
This whole time. They're going to share in the Thanksgiving feast.
Yeah.
This is the animals version of allies coming together, forgetting about their bloody past of the wolves hunting them and that kind of stuff, and come together for a feast.
You know, the wolves have very sharp teeth. They could come in handy as an ally if someone ever wants to attack us. Literally the animal parallels. Yeah.
This is like the early version of, you know, how we like Rescue Rangers like takes place like in the human world and like has like the parallels to the human world.
Yeah.
This is actually the Rescue Rangers history. Like taking parallel place. Like they also celebrate Thanksgiving, but it was like the wolves and the woodland creatures coming together.
Together. To kill the people that were like destroying their land.
Makes sense.
Kind of.
So once again, according to a quick Google animal search, I actually did not know this. If a wolf approaches you, you should maintain eye contact, make yourself seem as big and loud as possible as you slowly back away, because that'll be like a showing dominance. Because if you look away, it'll like, they're like, oh, this one's dominant. And never turn your back on the wolf and run. Like if ideally you actually, if you're able to like back up where your back is against something, so then, you know, no other like wolves from the pack are going to come at you. But yeah, get big and loud, direct eye contact, don't turn and run. So naturally.
Good to know.
The boys immediately turn and run.
Oh, God.
The great hunters that they are.
They didn't have Wikipedia back then. They couldn't look this up. Yeah.
True. But I also live in like 2022 with lots of like technology in a modern house where I don't run into wolves. They live in the middle of the woods.
They should know this.
They should know some like, I mean, again, they saw a bear and they weren't worried about it. So I think their wood smarts are not what they think they are.
No. Wood stupids.
Yes, wood stupids. Exactly. So like playing with food before eating, the wolf gives chase. Again, I think being like, ooh, the mashed potatoes, the mashed squirrels are not going to be ready for another 20 minutes. Like I gotta keep this food going. Like, honey's back at home cooking food. I can't disappoint her. And so the wolf indeed goes and gives chase against these boys, kind of toying with them, and corners them up against a mountainside. So by pure happenstance, they end up with their backs literally against the wall, which is what they should have tried in the first place. But luckily, as this was happening, some of the woodland creatures do, from a safe spot, see what's going down. And most notably, some sparrows who the boys weren't pretending to murder when they played hunter are like, all right, I guess we should help out these boys. Like, fine. They were the third party in this whole situation. And so they go to fly and find Jeremy to tell them that his new human friends are about to be eaten. And in what I think is the funniest scene in the show is the sparrow does find Jeremy, and Jeremy has found the parents, the men who are in the woods looking for the kids. Yeah, the search party. Thank you. And Jeremy is like right in the middle of telling the adults, like, oh, the kids, they're totally fine. It's chill. I helped them out. They're just this direction. No problem. And then a sparrow like dive bombs in and it's like, the boys are about to get eaten by a wolf right now. They're going to get eaten right now. And Jeremy's like, we should go that way. And the humans start running that direction. So yeah, Jeremy's like,
so the sparrows speak to like the people understand it and everything. Like,
it was very confusing because even Jeremy was squeaking at the humans, but they understood him. I didn't write this down.
Somehow they got the message.
Yes.
Okay.
I, at this point, was like, we have already glossed over so much about the animal world Thanksgiving, so much about the colonization. What's up with the squirrel and sparrow speaking to adults? I didn't get into it.
I don't know. Like, there's so many other things to focus on. Yeah.
How much can a squirrel carry? It was a whole lot.
That was truly the most important question, actually. The most important inquiry in this episode.
Yes. And so the sparrow now leads everyone to the boys who are up against the cliffside, and with just the one wolf slowly approaching them. And if we recall earlier how Jeremy was pretty pissed at the boys, and if we recall in our first episode how we discussed how the first Pilgrim winter, half of their asses died. Mm-hmm. So I imagine that in this moment, the dads are probably like, kind of the men are probably like kind of pissed at the boys. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we have to come all the way fucking out here. Now we're dealing with some wolves. These are just 2 more mouths to feed, because one of the fathers picks up a gun to shoot the wolf, and another dad puts the gun down and just goes, you might hit the boys, which is nice. But then they all just stand there contemplating whether or not, like, if this wolf killed them, that's one less mouth to feed. Like, we could get home sooner. Like, the parents do nothing.
They're like truly weighing their options here. They're like, it's possible the kids are already dead.
They're like,
I'm very hungry and cold
maybe
right
be
now.
Satisfied if this was the sacrifice to the wolves, and maybe they wouldn't terrorize us
leave
for
us
a couple
alone.
Days.
We just let them eat our 2 kids.
So it's like 15
they'll be hungry. They'll be full.
Men.
I mean,
they'll be so full after Thanksgiving dinner of little boys.
It's like how if you ever see a giant snake in the wild and you see that it's just eaten or something, you're like, oh, I don't need to like run. That thing is full. It's not going to get me next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they're like, what if the wolf eats the boys and gets plump, and then we kill the wolf, and then we have a plump wolf to eat? He's too skinny right now.
That's like meta, because then you're like eating your kids, like kind of.
Yo, back in the day was wild, dude.
It was rough out
wild.
There.
Donner Party. We've talked about that on this show. Desperate times.
I probably would have loved to eat them that way instead. It was probably all right. You know what? No, let's keep it moving. I'm not going to say the next thing I'm going to say.
It's like one step removed from cannibalism.
Yeah.
So like, is it cannibalism? Let us know in the comments.
In the comments, what are your thoughts on this? Is
if
there
you
a
eat
line?
an animal who ate a human, is that
cannibalism?
I don't know.
Anyway,
hot takes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so again, like 15 grown ass men are just standing there, like weapons in hand, but being like, let's see how this plays out. However, Jeremy, again, the hero of our tale, has now apparently forgiven the boys at this point, and maybe feels a little guilty that he kept them in the care of other wild animals who instinctively abandoned them at the first sign of trouble, because that's like survival of the fittest. And
exactly.
These boys were not gonna carry on that evolutionary. They're not the fittest. Charles Darwin would have made a case study out of them real quick. And so our little squirrel Jeremy sneaks up to the wolf and chomps down on his tail. Which, as I've mentioned, Jeremy is a superhero squirrel. So maybe he does have a super strong bite. Because yes, I Googled how strong a squirrel can bite. And it mainly just talked about, do squirrels bite you? Would you get rabies? Et cetera, et cetera. So maybe Jeremy gave him rabies.
I was going to say, would you? I guess, yeah, if they have rabies, they
It depends on the squirrel, but it's not likely, according to the first line I read on Google. And then was like, what am I wasting my time on right now? Let's keep moving, Grace.
You call it a waste of time. I call it beneficial information gathering.
I know a lot about squirrels. Okay, squirrel friends, let's do this. But anyways,
oh my God, our friend Lenny is probably loving this episode, by the way.
It's all about squirrels.
Yep. This one goes out to you, Lynn.
As they all do.
Yeah, basically.
But apparently Jeremy is indeed strong enough, as we've mentioned before, that he has a super strong bite, enough to actually hurt the wolf, or at the very least to annoy the fuck out of the wolf, who turns its sight on the appetizer squirrel and decides to start chasing Jeremy just to get that out of the way. And presumably while this happens, I assume all the parents are just like, whew, all right, well, let's go home, because no one even tries to help Jeremy.
Jeez.
At all. There's a wolf chasing him down. The little boys are like, go, Jeremy, go. And then I think they head back home. So before we
Putting
follow
a
them
lot of
home.
trust into Jeremy.
Like I said in the last episode, well, and I will say when Little Bear and Johnny shook hands in the last episode, Jeremy also put his little paw in and shook hands. Aww. And like we said in the last episode, we know how trustworthy the white man's handshake is. So again, first sign of trouble, they were like, let's go home.
And time to eat that dinner.
Yeah, presumably Little Bear and the native fathers who were part of the search party were like, you know what? This has been a long fucking day. Yeah, let's go home. Mm-hmm. But before we follow them home, we do see Jeremy smartly scurry through a really tight log, which the wolf chases him into and gets trapped in. Mm. And then I guess Jeremy just leaves it there to die because it can't get out. It's like super stuck in there. And Jeremy leaves it. So
he's like,
another, I know we've talked about Pilgrim
Jeremy,
crimes,
holy crap.
But, yeah, but Jeremy's doing some murder right now.
Squirrels. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It was old America was a bloody time.
Survival of the fittest.
Bam!
The timber could not fit through that log. I think that's
and you know what? I'm glad
the fittest needs
that I mentioned the like modern day 1972 human family and squirrel family. Because you know what we didn't see? A wolf family.
Ooh, biased. Oh
Bam.
No.
Well, of like who survived. Clearly this wolf line ended because it chased a squirrel through a log, which was not a good idea. No. And so either way, yes, Derek came up because I clapped loudly, so he was concerned. Either way, the humans make it all back home, but presumably it's like probably like 3 a.m. by the time they get home. So they decide
wives are like asleep in the kitchen.
Of note on that, actually.
I'm not going to drink my coffee. I'm going to spit it out.
They decide to have the feast the next day, but because they don't like have a microwave from the food they made the day before, I think they had to remake all the food. So all the wives are sitting there being like, Little Bear and Johnny, we're gonna send you to the fucking wolves. This is now 2 days of slaving in the kitchen for your ungrateful asses, and all the men are just hanging out on Thanksgiving part 2.
You see all the food from the day before, just like still on the table outside, like rotted and frozen.
Yeah, it looks
like
frozen overnight.
Nibbling on.
That actually was the animals' Thanksgiving feast because they didn't get the humans to eat that night. So they all just came out like 4 a.m. and ate all of the food. So the next day, it's like the carcasses of the turkeys and like that kind of stuff just everywhere.
Oh, God, those poor wives.
And even more so, these wives who have just put in so much hard work. Instead of them getting, even though it's Thanksgiving, any thanks or gratefulness, all of the humans, Pilgrim and Wampanoag native, decide to make Jeremy the guest of honor at their Thanksgiving feast.
Which he's like sitting at the head of the table.
Literally sitting at the head of the table. He has a little pilgrim hat and like a bird feather, which is supposed to be like the native side of things.
Look at him bringing them together.
Which, thanks to what I believe after these episodes, is the United States propaganda against the squirrels was totally overlooked in all of our history books. That Jeremy the squirrel was at Thanksgiving. God damn it.
Yeah, and not one mention of him in our textbooks.
Not even one. So, well, this episode ends with a joint feast and lots of singing, which again, reminder, this was somewhat of a musical. Mm-hmm. I'm going to now briefly wrap up our episode with what happened after this quote unquote first Thanksgiving, aka get into further crimes of the Pilgrims, because we are a crime show after all. Yeah. So after, and this is a very quick brief overview. Yeah. So after the first Thanksgiving, about a year-ish after our infamous Mayflower arrived, the Plymouth colony actually lasted for 71 more years and were overall allied with the Wampanoag during this time. Although obviously we should use that term allied, like pretty loosely, because like they still showed up, took their land, brought diseases, betrayed treaties, the huge type of stuff.
Norms. Yeah.
Yes. So anyways, relations came to a head during King Philip's War, which was actually named after a Wampanoag chief who took / was probably forced to use the name Philip.
Philip. I was like, that's not what I was expecting.
His real name was Metacom.
Okay, yeah, he definitely was forced to be.
Yeah, they were like, "What's your name?" Philip. Cool. Hey, Philip.
Cool.
Exactly. And so, as I said earlier, good allies or good relations, quote unquote, using that lightly, because when Metacom succeeded his father and became chief, he was finally sick of the colonist betrayals and violations and just their shit. They were constantly pulling on the native peoples, and pretty much decided to stop playing nice. So slowly the Wampanoag peoples began raiding homesteads throughout New England with occasional help from the Narragansett tribe, though that tribe's official stance was neutral. However, of course, the colonists were like, oh, they're helping out the Wampanoag people. Kill us? That was really dramatic of the Pilgrims.
Yeah.
They decided that they were also violating any treaties, as if the Plymouth colony had not already violated all of them. And thus, both tribes in the Plymouth colony's eyes were now enemies, and gathered about 1,000 colonists throughout New England to burn native towns to the ground. And by the end of the war, just a year later, most of the Wampanoag and Narragansett people, I'm also saying that tribe's name wrong, were decimated, including thousands of deaths, public executions, and enslavement. The Mashpee Wampanoag estimate around 40% of the Wampanoag population was killed or sold into slavery during just that year. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's known as one of the deadliest wars in colonial American history. Then, to continue our crimes, as England increased its grip and rule over the colonists, they consistently took land away from the Wampanoag nation. And by 1746, the colonists put the 3 white dudes as quote unquote guardians over the nation, over the Wampanoag nation, to limit their independence. And obviously, Wampanoag people protested. And it was only in 1763 where they were acknowledged as self-governing, but not necessarily separate, still under English rule. Yeah. Even though, they went through all of that, the Mashpee Wampanoag members, some of them still helped America fight in the Revolutionary War. And as a thanks, the new U.S. Congress created the 1970 Trade and Intercourse Act, which, among other things, required federal approval for native land agreements and all other U.S. to native interactions. That was sarcastic, by the way, my as a thanks. For those who couldn't pick up on it.
Right.
So from there, the U.S. opted to continue overlooking treaties and land rights, which I can say that. Please don't comment that, Alexis, because I do not work for the U.S. government. So I'll keep moving. Actively took Wampanoag children from their families and forced them into quote unquote Indian schools, which is essentially a forced assimilation and erasing of their culture. Again, this is obviously an incredible highlights reel of crimes over hundreds of years. And it wasn't until 2007 that specifically the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, which is the one I've mentioned the most here, became a federally recognized tribe. Again, 2007. The first contact with white people was like 1546 or something like that, when like the European colonizers came over.
Yeah.
And becoming a federally recognized tribe in 2007 allowed them, again, strong emphasis on the quotes and the sarcasm, to reacquire their land, which is connected to a whole bunch of other laws in the 1900s, like the New Deal and the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. So again, that's an incredibly brief overview of hundreds of years of crimes against the Wampanoag people, obviously, and many others. And what happened after one joint dinner that actually was not supposed to necessarily be a joint dinner, and then turned into a frat party, and then it got turned into a national holiday, which, yes, has delicious food. And for me, again, means spending time with my loved ones and my chosen family. But we cannot forget both that it has a dark past and would have never even happened without Jeremy the squirrel.
Oh man. And now I'm going to start appreciating squirrels a lot more on Thanksgiving in particular. I'm gonna start doing squirrel decorations. Yeah, it's like you leave milk and cookies out for Santa Claus. You do candy for trick-or-treaters. Leave a pile of acorns out for squirrels on your front porch.
That's going to be part of our musical, which opens with the infamous Mayflower. Oh yeah,
it starts.
Always leave it out. And here's why, kids.
It's exactly little kids like running through their backyard, picking out acorns from trees, having so much fun. And they're like, Mommy, Daddy, why do we pick acorns the day before Thanksgiving? Well, kids, sit down. Let's tell you the tale of Jeremy the squirrel. And the first Thanksgiving.
Back in 1621.
The infamous Mayflower comes.
6, 7, 8. The background changes. The can dancers enter.
It's like wheeling in. You just see like the real background behind, like a real continuous. These people dancing.
All of the animals are also characters who are dancing.
It's like humans and animal costumes.
Exactly.
Jeremy the squirrel is played by like this big, like strapping guy, like a Chad. And he's wearing a squirrel cap. He's wearing a squirrel costume.
But like, because he has to dance too, it's like super like tight fitting. It's just like the ears and like the tail and like a brown bodysuit. All like cats, but for squirrel. Well, folks, look forward to that.
If anyone watching or listening has like theater connects, like
hit us up.
Please let us know, because we just wrote, there's like the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the play right there.
Yeah.
Like the story, at least. We can get some dialogue added in, but
it's all singing.
I think we've got something going here.
Yeah, this is gonna be the next big hit. Look for it next Thanksgiving on Broadway.
Next Thanksgiving. Yeah, we're working on it. At least off Broadway, maybe. We'll start small.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Wow. We'll be humble about it.
Great job, though.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. And between now and next week, where Alexis will be doing part 1 of her Pilgrim crime series.
Two-parter. Yeah.
Who should our audience tell about this podcast?
Oh, who should you tell? I think this week you should, I'm sure almost every state in the country has this, because every state had natives before the colonizers came, or like every corner. So in your state, find like the Museum of Native American History or Culture for your state or in your town. I'm sure there's one somewhere. And I don't know, maybe actually you shouldn't tell them. They may watch this and be like, oh my God, this is absolutely terrible.
I think maybe
tell them.
Still tell them to listen to this podcast, but
visit
with
and
the
then
asterisk.
Tell them while you're there. Yes, exactly.
Yes, with the asterisk of like,
it's a comedy podcast, but they are trying to be as tasteful as possible. They laugh through the pain.
Yeah.
So just saying, they're trying to rewrite some of these old, very cringy episodes of things to make you guys look a lot better as you were. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Yikes. So go visit them, and then also tell them. Go learn about the native culture in your state. Yeah.
I like that. Who should they tell? And then after that, especially if you live near Plymouth or modern day Mashpee, which the colonists just named after the Mashpee Wampanoag. They were like, this is our name now for this town, Massachusetts. And you should go tell some Pilgrim reenactors, like go to like the old like Pilgrim village where they're like turning butter, and go tell one of them and be like, hey, listen to this podcast. Do you really want to be reenacting this?
Yeah, are you sure?
This is the heritage we're proud of. Yeah. And go tell them and let them know. They're probably pretty bored there for like half the day. So
Yeah.
get them a podcast to listen to.
True. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then hopefully they get some giggles in.
Yep,
Laughs,
exactly.
and yeah. Cool.
There you go. And hopefully you did too. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.